if you ever thought you'd rise to leadership and you could make it on your own, it's physically impossible. You need somebody to come and speak up for you. You need somebody that's going to give you a solution to a problem that you think you can't solve. You know, so it's critically important that all of us are part of a network. But I think the reality is we're not all initiators. So some of us don't even know where to start in terms of building the network.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of In Conversation with Naomi. Today I have with me the incredible Mpho Hlefana. A warm welcome. It is such a privilege and such an honor to have you. From the very first day that I met you on a panel that we were both parts of, I had it on my list that I need to have a conversation with this incredible, amazing woman. So for those of you who may not know Mpho, she is a marketing executive, a powerhouse, a woman in technology and ICT. And we will share today just about your experience at what it's like to build a career as a marketing executive, how you've navigated your challenges. But firstly, would you just like to say hi and introduce yourself to everyone watching?
Sure, Naomi. Hello, everybody. It's absolutely wonderful to be here today. Yeah, to be called incredible is quite incredible.
You are. Phenomenal. Yeah, and you guys have got to go follow her on the socials. You'll see just what a powerhouse Mpho is.
No, absolutely. Thank you for having me here today, and I look forward to the chat that we're going to have.
Absolutely wonderful. Thank you, Mpho. So I know that you are a Gauteng lady. You grew up in Pretoria, went to the University of Pretoria. Tell us a little bit about what young Mpho was like, and what was that dream? Did you always want to be in marketing? What was that goal that you had as a little girl?
Sure. So yes, Pretoria girl through and through. I absolutely love Pretoria because everything feels like it's 5 minutes away. But I think the opportunities were obviously in Johannesburg from a marketing perspective. So I did make the move here in about 2010, 2011. And the dream to be in marketing was not always there. So I was incredibly shy growing up. Very diligent young lady. I was into music. I played instruments. I played sports. And I battled to relate with people. So it's a shock to me today that the career that I'm in is all about relating with people.
It's all about people.
which is very strange. But I think my passion or my desire to be in a space which focuses on people, on communication, on telling stories, on creativity, started with my obsession with Oprah. So,
girl, you and me both.
Yeah, I used to come home from school and I'd pack my bags away and I'd sit and I'd watch this wonderful, you know, illustrious, passionate woman who was all about discussing different topical issues. And the manner in which she did it and the way she related with people was what drew me to a career, I would say, in communications.
Correct.
And I actually didn't know what it was exactly that I wanted to study in university. So my dad, being the person he is, I think had an inkling around, you know, where my capabilities were. And he actually suggested that I go either into communications or marketing. And I was fortunate that the degree at the University of Pretoria encompassed both. So I ended up studying my BCom in marketing management.
Absolutely amazing. You know what I love about your story is sometimes we want to discount ourselves right on the onset and think that career is not for you. And so many young people would either come up to us and talk to us and say, can I do this? For me, it's about being able to do anything that you put your mind to. You were shy. I would never, ever, the Mpho that we know now, see you hosting incredible events. And I want to talk about the Women's Day event that you will be hosting tomorrow. But you really bring a message across that is so powerful, where you have stepped into yourself, where you've stepped into that power. So whether we're shy, whether we don't like to be in the public domain, those are skills that we can teach ourselves.
Absolutely. And I think the beauty of being able to learn from other people is that you can sort of hone in on skills that you admire about specific people and package that into something that makes sense for you. You know, I've been fortunate to work with to have access to some absolutely phenomenal leaders who were all authentic in the way that they led. And all I did is just watch these people, watch and try and figure out what are some of the traits that made them great, and take from each of those to develop something that was authentic to me.
Yeah.
And I think another important aspect which I grew up with was the concept around, and my dad used to say this, there's no such word as can't. And that's my approach to my entire life. If I feel I can't do something, then I challenge myself to say, but your dad said there's no such word as can't.
Right.
And I've got to find a way to get it done.
Right. Gotta love Dad. Dad seemed to be a very prominent figure as a role model in your life. Besides Oprah, tell me about him and you growing up and how he inspired you to be the woman that you are today.
Sure. So my dad actually was a very tough guy to please, a perfectionist, very goal-driven, and he sort of instilled in us having a certain work ethic. So a lot of the times, although I didn't like it, he made sure that we were kept occupied because he used to say an idle mind is the devil's playground.
Oh dear. Can we play? I'm a kid, Dad.
So we couldn't play. And if you were playing, you were playing an instrument.
Oh dear.
Not playing outside kind of a thing. But he did instill the discipline around, keep your mind occupied, keep learning, learn something new. Watch the people around you that are a level above where you currently are, and what can you learn from those people. And also a doctrine around, if you're watching TV, is there something that you're learning from the show that you're watching? Very passionate about his craft. He actually studied to be a chemist, so studied in the sciences, but actually ended up in human capital and did so well.
Oh, wow.
Within private and public sector. And just watching how charismatic he was and how people respected him for, the work that he produced. And that still today, after retirement, people are still calling on him to help. Is just testament to the type of man that he is. And I think I can only try and measure up to the man that he is.
Mpho, I love the principle that your dad has instilled within you for understanding that there's no such word as can't. And you are so privileged to have learned that at a very, very early age. For me, I got to learn about the power of the words that we use and the power of reframing something when I was probably an adult already in my 20s. How do you use that to motivate your team or to ensure that there is a greater outcome that your team can achieve by reframing how they look at challenges?
Yeah, I think my team might not be aware of me instilling the same principle in them, but I actually am. And I've been very intentional about not giving them the answers. So I always challenge them to go figure out a solution. And I think over time, as you practice, finding different solutions to different problems, eventually they don't come to me.
It becomes second nature to them to go find an answer.
Nature, and then I sort of release myself of the responsibility thereof. So I would like to think that they now see life or their approach to work in a similar manner that I do, which is all about let's look for an alternative to get a positive outcome.
Isn't it beautiful when you constantly trying to reiterate something and you sit back and you observe how the growth has organically occurred over a period of time? It's just really beautiful to see.
No, of course, and I don't think we realize it until it's too late. Usually it's a farewell or some sort of massive shift is happening, and then only people reflect on the lessons that they've learned. But I think I'm privileged that my team is a team that constantly gives feedback, and I do the same to them. And I think through that, I've been able to get a sense of, where their headspace is at in terms of their ability to deal with challenges, to find solutions. And I can almost have that instantaneous response or support for them, as opposed to waiting until it's too late.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's go back to when you started your career. you may be a powerhouse of a woman today, but we all start somewhere, and no one wakes up, finish varsity, and step into the most amazing career. How did you charter your career, and who were some of those people that played that pivotal role in your life? Who was the people that said yes to you to create those opportunities for you?
Sure. I'm actually going to be controversial and start with the people that said no.
Oh, I love
to
it.
me.
Go ahead. Be as controversial as you need to be. No's are an important part of growth, isn't it?
So I actually started my career working at the Postgraduate Institute of the University of Pretoria as an intern, and we were actually responsible for doing postgraduate courses for people in industry. And I actually had an encounter because I was so frustrated there. I decided just to be bold and challenge one of the managers. And she said to me, you know what, Mpho? You young people think you know everything. And I remember that conversation so vividly because I think that was a turning point in my life. And I said, I will never have anybody tell me that I think I know too much or I think I'm better than somebody else when I know I am.
Yeah.
And that was the day I actually decided to resign. And fortunately, a couple of days later, I was then contacted by Dimension Data, where I started my career in technology. And
that was the perfect no.
It was the perfect no. So sometimes you do need a no in order to steer you in the right direction.
Correct.
So I started in technology at Dimension Data as a graduate intern, and I actually started later than the cohort that was there. So I had to fast track because the graduation was about 9 months later. So I had to catch up on 3 months worth of learning.
Oh, wow.
To be at the same pace as my peers. But of course, in true Mpho fashion,
love the fashion.
There's no such word as can't. It can be done, and I caught up. And I must say, I was very privileged because I was recruited by then CMO Mandisa Ntloko, phenomenal woman, and I just watch her. And I remember walking out of that interview because she was so calm and so demure. And I was like, I don't even know if I got this job. And I got a call about an hour and a half later to say, no, you're coming to join the company. And what I appreciated about Mandisa was her ability to bring teams together and to hone in on the expertise of everybody in the team. So it always felt like everyone within the team had a place, and she had the unique ability to sort of point out the leaders without overtly saying so, because in some instances you can offend other people.
Of course.
But she would do so in such a subtle way. And in my time there, I got a sense of how do we develop a leader through watching how she dealt with the team. And I was fortunate throughout my career to work with her a couple of times in various companies and to grow with her, if I could call it that. I was also privileged to work with Dr. Mangwani Ndombi.
You've had some phenomenal women that you worked with.
Superb women to report to and work with, who were bullish in how they approached their careers, bullish in what they believed they needed to stand for.
And made no excuses for being excellent and taking up space.
Absolutely. They just owned it.
Yes.
And did so in such a way that they garnered respect from people. So she too, similar to Mandisa, sort of stretched us in our ability to perform. She stretched us in terms of opportunities to lead. And I've also had the privilege of working with her more than once. So I think there's a pattern here.
But it also speaks volumes about you that you got the opportunity to work with them again. Because good people take great leaders with them. They continuously support you and help you grow into the version that they see who's within you.
Absolutely, Naomi. And then I think I was also privileged to work with a couple of gentlemen who saw this woman. I mean, you can imagine in technology, it's predominantly men.
Yes, I was going to come to that question.
And they saw key talent and they said, we want you to lead in certain positions. My now manager, Mpho Hlefana, who's the Chief Commercial Officer of BCX, threw me in the deep end. And that's how I landed in this current role.
How do we grow? Learn to swim.
So at the time, he said to me, well, we need somebody to lead marketing. I think you are capable of doing it. And I remember my first thought was, there are people that have been in this company a lot longer than me. And now it's almost going to feel as though, I'm stepping over them to get this position. But I was really fortunate that, he sort of gave me the proviso to do what I needed to do. And I think I've been quite successful in my role because of the support of people like him.
Having leadership buy-in makes all the difference.
Absolutely. And I think how people move into leadership and thrive in leadership is by having sponsors. People that are going to have conversations about you in rooms that you typically wouldn't be in. And I think that is quite important in terms of recognizing the role of sponsors.
Yes.
And I guess a lot of people would say, but I don't want to be seen as somebody's person. You can do it without being seen as somebody's person.
Exactly.
It's just through your work ethic, through your ability to relate with people, to work with people, and to perform is how those sponsors are going to identify you and start speaking about you.
But you have to stand out. You need to be that person that says, you know what, that this project may not necessarily be mine, but let me help. Because how else? Sponsors are often the people that have got access into those rooms, like you're saying. They're exceptionally busy executives. There is so much responsibilities that lie on their shoulder. So they're not going to go and look for someone. They're not going to go and look for an Mpho that sits behind a desk in a corner, doesn't stand out. But if you stand out in what you do, excellence gets you seen. And then get those sponsors to speak on your behalf.
Yeah, and to your point, a lot of the times I would ignore my job description. So to a lot of people, if they ask me what you do, I say, I'm not even a marketer. I think I'm a business partner.
Yes.
I do whatever is required to make this business successful. And I think that's part of why the sponsors that I've had have been able to talk about she's gone above and beyond her traditional job scope. She's all about what is in the best interest of this organization and what is the role that I need to play. So a lot of the times I'd go and steal projects
where do you
from
need
other
help?
people.
What do you need? What is your can't? Give me your
if
can't.
If you can't do it, then I will.
Yes.
And I think we're very privileged because we've got access to tools like AI and Google. And I would, if I didn't know how to do something, I'd just go Google. Give me a template for developing a business case.
Exactly. Yes.
So we have all of these resources at our disposal, and I think the combination of let me go beyond my scope without compromising your direct job, obviously.
Yes, of course.
And then combining with this powerhouse of technology that we have access to. So that we can learn new skills, learn to do things differently. I think that combination is absolutely dangerous, if I can call it that. It can make you the powerhouse.
It can make you. And it sets you apart. No one is going to come and tell you, oh, you know what, you need to teach yourself how to use AI, how to understand, and how that can be of value to you. It's up to us to really take the handle and say, this is my career. How do I drive this? How do I do this?
Absolutely. So that's in a nutshell, I think, how I've sort of looked to certain people in terms of the type of leader I would like to emulate and to take some skills from them, and then to take charge in terms of what it is I wanted for my career, to develop that work ethic, but also using the tools available to me to support that.
So you talk about you don't have a job title, right? But your job title is marketing executive. Oftentimes, people look at marketing as the fluffy part of the business. I know differently, so don't worry. I want to educate everyone around what is that true value that marketing really brings to your organization, and why do you love what you are doing?
Sure. When I speak about marketing, I like to speak about it in 3 realms. The first realm is about how we position the organizations that we work for and tell the story of our organizations. Somebody has to do that so that people know where to come and buy solutions and services from. And I think that's a critical role. If people don't know that you exist, then how would they know
How
to
are
come
you
to
going
your
to find
company?
customers, right?
Exactly.
It's like, what were you talking about? No, we've never heard of that company before.
Of course. And then I think the second element for me, which is a critical element, is around customer experience. We are the division that's responsible for connecting the business with our potential or existing customers and making sure that we're supporting them in terms of nurturing the relationships with those customers so that they come and continue to buy from our business. So it's about setting up the right platforms for this to happen, but also being fair with, a lot of our customers are constantly giving us data. And how do we help the business assess what's happening with that data so that it tells us a story about our customers and then we as a business can react. Yeah. And then I think the third aspect, which is quite controversial, is marketing as a contributor towards commercialization.
Oh, but they are.
So for anybody who thought marketing was not a strategic component of a business, well, I'm here to surprise you.
Oh, yes.
So I think in that sense, it's all about we need to figure out what's happening in the market and see if the products and solutions that we're selling are a fit for what our customers or the market is asking for. Yes. And that's done through intelligence. So I'm fortunate that within BCX, the market intelligence function sits within marketing. And we're then responsible for sort of putting together what the lay of the land looks like so that it can inform our sales guys in order to know what to position with our customers.
It helps understand the business's competitive advantage.
Correct.
And based on that, you then make the strategic decision. So we argue that marketing is at the very core of a business strategy.
Absolutely. And I think, in the last 2 years or so, BCX fortunately has realized that, which is why I think they buy into a lot of the programs that the marketing department is, putting to the fore or suggesting and leveraging that in a strategic manner. And we've actually designed a customer engagement strategy that dictates that the interaction with BCX needs to start with marketing. So no one in the market.
Very forward thinking.
Exactly. Where I think previously it was always, no, it's the sales guys. The sales guys are the interface to the company, but that's not actually true. Yeah. I think statistics have shown, and a lot of the consulting houses have proven that the interaction actually starts with telling your story through marketing.
Yes, because then sales has something to go sell. They have a story. Someone knows them instead of having to come and say, let me tell you about this company and trust. The trust factor is not there if you don't know the organization.
Absolutely.
I've been very fortunate to have had very great partnerships with our marketing team. And sometimes I even dabble because I am curious. So I want to understand what's happening there. Why are we doing this? I have to tell you the story, Mpho. So when we were doing our MBA, marketing was one of the pillars. And like most MBA cohorts, there's a large number of finance professionals in the marketing in class. So now we go to marketing and they think it's very soft skills. It's like very, touchy feel, and no one is really taking this particular assignment very seriously. But I was warned that our marketing professor focuses on data more than anything else. And it was an exciting it was an exciting project. We had to do a marketing plan for Sephora. Had lots of data. I started working early on it. And data it doesn't come naturally to me. So I need to ask a lot of questions. I spent a lot of time on my project because I was worried about the data and which channel are you going to use based on what data you have, on where your audience would be. Anyway, I spent hours, I finished it. Everyone else started their assignment that night.
Oh my gosh.
The next morning, we had a class full of very grumpy students. Everyone had choice words for our professor, and if you watch today, it's still my favorite story. Everyone was like, but this is not marketing. What the hell was that assignment? And everyone got like a really rude awakening. But marketing was never the same for the rest of the course, because we understood the value and how, if you understand your data, the rest of it becomes easy.
Absolutely. And I think the world is in that state right now, right?
Yes.
We are basically unable to make decisions without the support of data.
Yes.
And I think technology has sort of progressed that, and we're a little bit more reliant on it. And I think that sort of forced my team and I to look at ways in which we can learn more about how can we use this data to our advantage and enable the business that is BCX. So yeah, it's completely changed. I know a lot of people have said, but marketing is not scientific. I think it's becoming a little bit more scientific, particularly in the realm of how we leverage data to communicate correctly to our customers.
Correct. And if you use that data, if you use the power of data, firstly, you getting yourself ahead of the competitor who may not be using it. And if you combine that with creativity, you have a success story.
Absolutely. And I think that's what I love most about it. I mean, I was, funny enough, really good with numbers. In school, I did really well in maths and accounting. And when I went to varsity, I actually did phenomenally well in financial management, funny enough. And it confused my dad because he said, then why don't you just go into accounting because you're so good at it? And I said, but there's this creative side of me that's bubbling
that's
under.
Calling me. That's calling
so
me.
I need to find this perfect mesh between being good at numbers and this desire to be creative. And I think that's why the realm of marketing is so good for me, and I'm thriving in it because it's got the perfect mix of creativity and I would call it some scientific nature to it as well.
Awesome. But Mpho, the road hasn't always been glorious. You started off by saying that you got your no. I got multiple no's in my life. I've learned to actually reframe no. So I would say every no leads me to my perfect yes. You are, and you even mentioned it earlier, you are a marketer, but you work in technology. You work in IT. It is a male-dominated environment. It wasn't always that you were accepted as a woman, a creative woman, beautiful and bubbly. How did you, what were some of those challenges that you've had to experience and how did you manage it or overcome it?
Sure. A very good question, Naomi. And I hope I could help somebody by answering it. To your point, I've had challenges in terms of people thinking that I'm too young for certain positions. And then coupled with that, I'm a young black female. To complicate matters.
Not a triple whammy. It's like, how many times do we... how many prejudices comes through in just that one sentence?
And my approach to it was, how do I relate with the men that I work with on a personal level so that once you are in on a personal level, they'll start to respect you on a professional level? So my strategy was always, let me get to know my stakeholders, what they're all about in their personal capacities, what are their interests. So much so that I know a lot of men in technology are golf players. And I asked my husband, teach me about golf, so at least I know what a handicap is. So that when I'm having conversations with my peers,
you can relate to them.
I can relate. And I think that was a catalyst for one of the parts of acceptance. I think the other, which might be controversial, was playing into my feminine even more. So where we'd typically be driven to sort of adapt and sort of lean into how do I become more masculine, I sought for how do I become more feminine and use that power to the advantage of the organizations that I work for. And that had to manifest itself in physical components. So I sought for, let me wear higher heels. Let me wear red lipstick to work. If they say, you know, the typical dress code is to wear a blue suit, I was like, well, I'll wear a suit, but it will be pink.
And I love your pink suits. They are gorgeous.
So, and we all know that typically men play into who? You know, the beautiful woman. And I thought, well, let me use that to my advantage and play into the beautiful woman. And that actually, I think, helped me come into my own and be comfortable with being a woman in technology.
Yes.
And I didn't have to pretend to be someone that I wasn't. And I think through that, we've garnered more acceptance. I think also making sure that I am the catalyst for driving change through women in tech or Wired for Women. and being intentional around how we use that program to support women in our industry, because we know some of them struggle. Not everybody is going to be bold enough to wear the pink suit.
Yes.
And what are some of the skills that we can impart through Wired for Women that would support other women in their journey within
So it's building that community and that community support each other through those challenges. So tell me a little bit more about Wired for Women.
Sure. So BCX started Wired for Women, I think it was in 2019, if I'm not mistaken. Mandi Santloko actually started it together with IT Web, which is a humongous media house in the ICT industry. And they sought to find sort of different components to educate and support women in their journey to leadership in the ICT industry. So we do 2 events a year to support International Women's Day as well as South African Women's Day. But in between, we've also got programs that support the narrative around supporting female leadership. So we've got the Amara program, which is run by a company called TNCO, and the CEO is Helen, which is all about how do we equip potential female leaders with the soft skills to navigate this complicated landscape that we find ourselves in. And then we also initiated the Wired for Women Awards last year, which were all about recognizing women in technology, all the way from seasoned female leadership, and you would have seen some of the winners from Microsoft, etc. But we also look for who are the trailblazers and the up and comings in the technology
The people
areas.
that are not necessarily known, right?
Correct. So we started last year. Phenomenal event, but I would like to think that going forward we'll go beyond just an event and making it a platform to look at how we support the trailblazers of the world to grow their companies and grow within the ICT industry. So we're hosting an event on what is tomorrow? The 9th. Where are we?
No, I don't know. It's the 7th tomorrow.
7th. I don't even know where we are anymore. There's too much going on. 7th of March in support of International Women's Day. And we're really honing in on the theme around accelerated action.
Yes.
So we've had a number of events. It's all wonderful that we attend, but tomorrow we'll be driving people to take action in terms of supporting some of the programs that we have in place.
And what does that action look like for you? What would be that action that you'd want people to take?
So I'll give you a couple of examples. So I think initially we just used to have established female leaders attending the event. We've now challenged each of the senior female leaders that we've invited to invite a mentee.
Love it.
So I'd be interested to know, have they actually been intentional about having a mentee that they've brought up? Because we'll be asking them at the event.
Where's your mentee? What have you done? What was your action?
Exactly. Just to check in and keep people honest. And then we're also asking the organizations that these female leaders come from to pledge support for the Amara program. So to pledge to send a certain number of delegates that they see potential leadership in, and then to make sure that they get on the Amara program. So I think we've tried to initiate the conversations via email, etc., but we're actually going to ask them to pledge at the event tomorrow.
Let us know how the pledges go.
Will.
And we challenge any other woman that may be watching that is not at the event to also create action, to help someone, to be there. And sometimes it's really just about having someone that you can speak to say, this is my challenge. How have you navigated it? Can you walk me through your steps?
Absolutely, and that's what it's about. So I've been fortunate that I was part of the second cohort of the Amara program, and I now have a network of other senior female leaders that I walk the journey with. And if there are any issues, I reach out to one of them and through this network, some people have gotten jobs.
Yep.
Others are learning how to deal with critical issues within the industry. So it really is a phenomenal program.
And at every level that we get at, there are different challenges that we are facing.
Correct.
As you grow in your career, you start having to navigate the politics around your role instead of, the substantive deliverables of your role. And having that cohort around you, having that woman network of women is so critical for us.
Absolutely. And the reality is humans are not meant to function alone.
No, we're not.
So, if you ever thought you'd rise to leadership and you could make it on your own, it's physically impossible. You need somebody to come and speak up for you. You need somebody that's going to give you a solution to a problem that you think you can't solve. So it's critically important that all of us are part of a network. But I think the reality is we're not all initiators. So some of us don't even know where to start in terms of building the network.
Yes.
And I think being part of a program like Wired for Women is a catalyst for helping some people in developing a network.
Love it. And happy Women's Day, Women's Month.
Thank you, and same to you.
Thank you very much. But Mpho, you're not all about work. There is a wonderful other side to Mpho. So what do you love to do outside of being this phenomenal powerhouse?
Believe it or not, I do love to Netflix and chill because sometimes my brain needs to take a break. But in Netflixing and chilling again, I'm quite curious about the crime channel and what's happening there because I believe solving a crime is, sort of similar to how we solve problems in corporate.
Yes.
And I'm quite curious
Sometimes
as to
it is a crime scene.
Exactly. What are some of the methodologies or the psychology behind solving a crime? And looking at how I can potentially apply that in my daily life, not to scare anybody.
Yes.
It really just is about strategy. And I'm also into fitness, so I work out quite a lot. I enjoy going to gym and being part of a community that is at Virgin Active, fortunately. So in my spare time, that's what I do. I have 2 wonderful daughters who
Beautiful. How old are
the
they?
light of my life, 4 and 6. Very
Keeping you busy?
Keeping me busy, a vivacious 4-year-old who, calls a spade and is very vocal. And a lot of the times I feel like, sure, this is a reflection of who I've become, so I can't even get angry at her.
And you are raising a future leader.
Absolutely.
So how you engage with her right now really determines her future
exactly.
too.
And it's more about, I think our styles to parenting are different. It's more about how do I take her capability and sort of look at how I hone it in the right direction.
The way your dad did for you.
Exactly, as opposed to saying, sit down and keep quiet and don't be loud. Why
Don't
not?
you sometimes just want to say like,
I do.
Just today. Maybe just today.
I do. And whenever I feel like I'm having one of those days where I can't deal with it, I call on my helper or my husband and I'm like, can you deal with it today until I'm in a better place?
That's why we need our village to
That's
support us.
That's why the community and the village are important.
Yes.
Yeah. And my 6-year-old, autistic, but incredibly smart. Incredibly smart girl. She, at the age of about 18 months, grabbed an iPad and she figured it out.
Oh, wow.
With no teaching, with no learning, with no intervention from her parents. I think I'm absolutely blessed. I'm learning a lot from her in terms of accepting the differences in people and learning to work with people the way they are, as opposed to us trying to get everybody to fit into a particular mold. And I think that's taught me a lot in terms of my leadership journey because my approach to managing my team is bespoke depending on the person that I'm dealing with. So really privileged to be a mother to these 2 little girls.
Oh, they're gorgeous. Gorgeous. Send them our love.
Absolutely will. I absolutely will.
Mpho, it has been such an honor talking to you. Do you have anything else that you wish that we chatted about that you still want to share that you think would be of value to anyone that is watching our episode?
Absolutely. I think a big word for me, and I'm seeing it coming up in my brain, is around ownership. Nobody's going to dictate to you what career you should be in, how you should navigate it, what the steps to leadership are. It's all up to you to be curious and to own it and to go and find the tools, the people, whatever it is that you need to support you in order to make your dreams come true. So ownership, a big word for me.
I love that word. We will own that word for this month. Ownership with action.
Yep.
Ownership with action. Mpho, this has been phenomenal. Thank you very much for taking out the time. I know there are new and exciting things waiting and ahead for you. I wish you absolutely everything of the best. Also, as you pivot industries coming up, we will see it all in the news and you guys will all hear about it very soon. But I really wish you everything of the best at tomorrow's event with all the ladies. I know that there's going to be phenomenal stories that come out of it, because every time you spoke about marketing being telling stories, sometimes we need, and that's what motivated me to start this podcast, is to tell people stories. Let's talk about our stories, let's share it, and we never know where it may inspire someone else for them to take action for their journey. So I really just want to thank you.
Thank you, Naomi. It's been an absolute privilege to tell my story, and I hope somebody out there has picked up some nuggets that can inspire them.
I have.
Big or small.
Yes.
And I look forward to the stories that are going to come out of me telling my story. So thank you for having me today.
Absolutely pleasure. Thank you very much, Mpho. Everyone, if you'd like to follow Mpho, can you please share with us where our audience can find you?
Sure. I am on Instagram, Mimps_1. Don't ask me why Mimps_1. It goes way back when.
Love it.
And then I also am on LinkedIn, Mpho Hlefana. You will see me. Very easy to find. So I look forward to getting some new friends online.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful rest of your day, everyone, and thank you for tuning in.